Hello, folks. You are listening to WPVM LP 103.7 FM. You can listen to us online at WPVMFM.org. Yay! We've got a very special guest with us, Alan, here with us, and we also have Billy Scribbles
Hello.
in the room with us. And I brought a bell with me today.
Imagine that.
Yeah. It's very important. I think I'm just going to leave it here at the station for other folks.
You should do that before you do special
enjoy.
announcements. Ding! And just do a little service announcement.
Well, we got a storm coming in, so if you're out on the road, please drive safe. If you're stuck outdoors, seek some shelter somehow. Please be careful. It's looking real windy. So, buskers, maybe now's the time to go get a cup of coffee. Yep. So, how long have you been busking and...
Oh, busking? Well, that been...
Well, busking and doing what you do. Like, like, who are you? Where do you come from?
I'm from Oregon originally.
Yeah?
My family, we traveled a lot, you know. Never stayed more than 2 years in any one place, so it was natural when I got my wings to go flying off. I've been traveling off and on for 14 years. But it was Asheville that got me to start playing flutes,
So folks, if you've been around downtown Asheville and you've seen a feller with a fairly large backpack and a whole bunch of handmade flutes, that's who we're talking to today. So, if you've been around downtown at all, then you know exactly who I'm talking about. And so that's what we're learning about today.
Yeah, I make flutes, I play flutes. I traveled here the first time 5 years ago. Had a little fife that someone gave me. I just put it in my pack, didn't think much about it. I did leather work, and I played guitar, I did these other things. And, well, I didn't have a guitar when I got here, and I pulled out this fife and started playing it. Next thing you know, people are giving me flutes. I'm fixing flutes, and I'm making flutes. At first it was, very simple. Now they've become rather complicated. It's actually my own style of flute making. There's something kind of a mix between clarinets, a native flute, and they're all made from locally grown bamboo. It's naturally dried, and I'm actually working on a set of bagpipes that are based on a Native American style reed, and they have a very sweet sound. I was hoping to have it completed before today, but it didn't turn out that way.
Well, maybe we can get you back on to test them out. And show 'em off.
Yeah. It should be quite a thing when it's done.
So, it was definitely an organic process.
Oh, completely.
To do all that. Do you feel like folks are really welcoming to your kind of craft here in Asheville?
Oh, they love it. I mean, if it wasn't for Asheville, I wouldn't probably be doing it. It's definitely, they encouraged me early on when I didn't know anything of what I was doing with flutes, and yet the people showed me a lot of love and care, and after a while I got pretty decent at it. At one point I was in Flagstaff, Arizona, another interesting busking location, and a shop owner, a gallery owner, came out to me and he said to me, if you were any other color, see, we get Native Americans coming in from all over, and they would play here. It's right next to the Navajo reservation, and the Grand Canyon, so they got a lot of that type of tourism. And he's like, if you were any other color, you'd be a millionaire. Well, I have no ambition for money, so I'm happy I'm my color then.
Goodness.
I prefer to play with the birds. That's why the other travelers called me early bird, because of Asheville.
Oh, I see. Yeah, pretty early too.
Yeah, I play with the birds.
Playing.
Serenading the morning crowd.
Right.
They're grumbling to get their first cup of coffee and just like, doo-doo.
It's that little flute in the air.
Well, it's a peaceful instrument.
Mm-hmm. So I don't play during the day too much. Just in the evenings and in the mornings.
Yeah, see, if I were to try to play spoons at 9 in the morning, somebody would hurt me.
Yeah.
Oh, they got really mad at me for playing at 6 in the morning. I didn't like that so much, but
Yeah.
waking people up compared to soothing their morning is a big difference, apparently.
Well, we learn from our mistakes.
Yes. Didn't mean to. I just wanted to play with the birds.
Well, do you have any plans on placing them within any spots indoors here?
Well, they actually carry them at Appalachian Strings at the Grove Parkway, or Grove Arcade, excuse me. It's a local handcrafted instrument shop. Beautiful. He uses exotic woods, makes stand-up dulcimers, ukuleles, little guitars, drumsticks, and he came up to me one day, asked me he liked liked what I do, and he invited me into his shop. So they're on display now.
Awesome.
They actually are doing quite well there.
You ever shop them around at Black Mountain anywhere?
Huh? No, I've been thinking about it though.
I think they would like it there.
So I've been told. There's a little handcrafted instrument shop there. I was thinking about going and talking to.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, you want to play us some and maybe talk about
Sure.
the different kinds of flutes you're making?
This was one. I'll start off with one that kind of started me on the bamboo flutes. This one came from one of the local Himalayan shops. It's the only flute I have that I didn't make. This is the side flute. Compared to this is one that I made with the native style reed system. It's also made from local grown bamboo. Each one I make is unique in every way, from its look, its tone. It's just like each one of us have our own thumbprint. It's not about being in a key, but finding the right tone.
All right.
It's just a tube. You're not really playing it. You're playing yourself. So you can actually vary the quote-unquote key from different things, from the amount of pressure you're putting in, or the amount you were actually covering of the holes. Here's one that has a little bit different sound. a little bit. And even the what they call fetishes, or the piece of wood that directs the wind, the airflow on native style flutes. I make mine different. I make mine like surfboards, so it's almost like you're surfing the wind. That one has a long board on it. That's the windy sound that it creates. And then I got.
Well, that's much smaller. The other flutes, for folks listening, that these are pretty long,
close
long
to 3
instruments,
feet, yeah.
right? And this one is how long?
About a little over a foot, a little foot and a half.
Awesome.
This has more of a bird sound to it. I'm always working on one thing or another, and even actually making a completely bamboo ukulele right now. Should be
Well, that'll
amusing
be neat.
when it's done.
That'll be real neat. So is the process for drying bamboo, is that intensive at all? I mean,
Yeah, most makers will actually put them over a fire, but I disagree with that concept quite a bit. I don't think we should be burned. Actually, I don't cut down the bamboo. I only collect it when it's naturally harvested, when it's fallen all on its own and it's spent time to dry all naturally. And then rather than to seal them, I simply use coconut oil, because coconuts are one of the few places where oil and water are at one. And it's one of the old plants, so I try to do it a little more natural, a little more raw, rather than putting things through a fire. You know, we can eat raw too. I mean, it's healthy. Just one of the little things that I some of my sanity, if you will. I mean, I put so much time and effort. I only use simple tools, simple files. I don't even use a saw. I try to put a lot of chi, a lot of energy into them, and I try to keep my walk simple, and it's what I encourage with the flutes. I don't even give prices for them. I don't sell them. I receive donations for them. But each flute, just like each one of us finds our mate, they find their mate. Because traditionally that's what the flutes were to pray with the wind, because many tribes consider wind God. And others, it calls out to the one that we love. So that's part of the reason why I don't make any of them keyed any certain way, because each one of us has their own vibration. Why? So each person should be calling to their own love.
there you go. That's pretty awesome. So the more you create them, the more you learn new techniques, I'm assuming.
Each one I say it when I'm done. This is the best one I've ever made.
Well, so ukulele, bagpipes, flutes, any other instruments coming on the way? Or that you perhaps made in the past?
Well, I used to have a instrument customization shop, a little business where I just find old vintage like harmonies and K's, silver tones, and I would make them. I'd make them unique. I would make new sound holes or build my own resonator cone. It's using junk I'd find because I was in Arizona at the time. I'd go out in the desert, find rusted old cans, and take tambourine cymbals and a bolt and put that all together and shove that in the sound hole and start playing, and it would make this unique, almost distortion sound. And when you would tap the guitar while you would play, it would make a ching, 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 kind of like a bell while you play. I'm always doing something else. Like even the flutes that I have for myself, I'm actually working on one that's kind of combination of a lyre and a flute at the same time. So the wind, the breath that would actually be exciting the strings, and then the vibration in the wood would excite the strings as well. So it'd be a combination wind and string flute
awesome
instrument.
Like a droning of the string. Kind
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah. Although I've heard other flute makers, they actually create what they call drone flutes, where it's a two flutes in one just plays a single note, and the other one plays is like a standard flute. And someone brought that up to me. It's like, what do you think about that? Well, honestly, I think it's kind of silly because you can actually hum and sing while you're playing flute as well. For example. It's fun because it creates all these other harmonic sounds, and so it'll be exciting to hear what it actually creates when I add the strings to one of the flutes, because it'll create all these other harmonics that I get to play with too.
Yeah.
So I guess the simple flute is just not enough for me anymore.
Well, do you have any other cities that you like to visit?
Oh, I have three favorites, non-counting Hawaii, which I go back to in a few months. But on the mainland, it's it's Asheville, Flagstaff, Arizona, and Ashland, Oregon, which is where my family actually lives, up in the mountains outside there.
Have you taken your flutes to Oregon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how did that go?
Oh, it went very well, actually. At one point, I was busking street performance outside of right in the downtown Ashland, and didn't realize where I was. And the mayor comes out, and apparently I was sitting playing music right below his office, and he threw a couple dollars in my basket. He's like, "Thank you very much. We get all different types here, and you are something different." And I get a big old grin on my face, and I said, "Well, thank you. That's exactly what I try to be." And sometimes I can be described as one that walks backwards. I definitely don't do things normal.
Who needs that, huh?
I don't.
Exactly.
I prefer my insanity, thank you. Strange word. To be sane is to have sanity, but to be insane is bad? That one, I can't get my head around that one.
Yeah.
to be out soon.
Yeah. English is a strange language.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because I'm a bit of an airhead, playing all these flutes all the time.
Well, have you ever thought about like setting up a booth or something at some festivals or fairs or any such kinds of things?
Well, I've done different things I've done all types of different arts. I worked in about every medium you can think of. I've had booths with my leather work, but there's a certain magic that I prefer. Just being in the public and playing the flutes, and it calls to the people, and then they come to me, and sometimes depending on how I may have a few flutes that are already made, and I'll put a series of them in front of someone, and they get to pick one up at one at a time, and they get to find one, and it turns out that's they've been looking for, and it's a totally unexpected experience. Then if you go to a art and crafts show and there's all these different people, you expect to find this and you find that, but when you're just walking down the street and you're hearing this sound, this flute, and you walk up and there's this guy with his dog just playing flutes, and he's got this big old bundle of them, and you're like, you think to yourself, wow, I've always wanted to play flutes, and next thing you know, you're walking away with one, and it's an experience that not everyone gets to have. When I was first going into Appalachian strings, and the owner had requested a number of flutes and gave me a donation for them, and he's selling them now in his shop. And there was a couple ladies that were there hearing us talk and hearing me play each one for him, and they ended up acquiring one off of me, and they were asking me, well, how much is it? I'm like, well, I'm not allowed to say. That takes away the whole magic of this experience. It's worth what it is to you. And after a little bit of interaction with them, they get one from me, and I looked at them. Now, isn't that something unique? You actually get to meet the maker of them. Now, you can go into any shop and find this or that, but to actually find the source, and that's the type of magic that I like to be, and that I'd like to float with. I'm too ADD to sit in one spot and have a booth.
Yeah. There is something about scheduling that it is what it is.
How'd you learn how to play the flute in the first place?
It was actually the birds of Asheville. I had that little fife. I didn't.
Yeah.
It was just gifted to me. I was at a garage sale one day with a friend. I didn't have any money on me. I looked at this flute. I'm like, wow, it's a buck. I wish I had a buck on me. He's like, here's a buck. I mean, here, please take it. And when I got here, I just started playing it, listening to the birds, and mimicking them, talking back, and that was just how it happened. It just kind of evolved from there.
Yeah. Now, do you think the guy giving you your first fife, do you think that influenced how you approach the business end of your flutes that you sell?
Yeah, very
like in the spirit of how you acquired your first one, you kind of put that forward to everyone else?
Very true. After that, it was just a local man brought me a flute. He asked me, do you think, one day I was playing outside of Green Life, do you think you could play a native style flute? I looked down, I'm like, I don't see why not. He's like, are you gonna be here tomorrow? I'm like, I can be. And he comes up to me the next day, and he hands me this beautiful, it was Indonesian cedar, incredible. Like, you could literally hear it for blocks. And that was my first wooden flute, and It was just the sheer love of Asheville that heard somebody that had a little something going and encouraged it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was actually come to find out later, like I couldn't have ever actually have afforded that flute. It was it was made by quite the maker.
A Stradivarius of flutes.
Oh, essentially, yeah.
Is any particular one that you feel flutes you made you feel you kind of gravitate towards more than other ones?
Yeah, I tend to.
Favorite?
That's
Well, I hate to use the word
like
favorite.
asking a child, parent, which child's their favorite.
It's like you can only save one kid.
Yeah. Well, that's horrible.
Sorry.
Please put one under each arm. I would say it's this one. It was this one. It was the first of my of this particular style of native clarinet. Almost. I haven't really. I call them my early bird whistles, but they're rather large and a little more complicated than normal whistles. But yeah, this would be the one that my first one that I made. It would be my favorite.
That's cool.
You want to play a little for us?
Sure.
So can I ask you, since you've been here in Asheville and walking around, and I'm sure you do a lot of observing. What's your thoughts on the state of the busking scene right now in Asheville?
Seems to be a controversial question right now.
Well, I'm just wanting your honest opinion.
I've been traveling back here off and on for 5 years. Seemed to be a lot more freedoms before. Seems to be more restrictions than before. I've seen a lot of towns around the country. I've been traveling on and off for 14, 15 years now. And I've seen a lot of towns go through the same struggle. I see now little change boxes that say, put your change here for real change. I've seen those put up in other towns too, just before the fall of their whole local scene. Seems that so many different towns they encourage the artists to come in, the musicians to come in, and they beautify the towns. They make more. They create a scene, a presence that attracts more and more tourism, which excites the investors. And over and over again, you take Haight-Ashbury, for example, or they push us out eventually in trade for maybe a cleaner look or a different style than what the money people want. They push us out. Seems to be a lot more of that than I've ever seen before. I've seen this other town, Tempe, Arizona, as a prime example. Right before the big recession in 2008, they took away their building restrictions, their height, so they could build taller buildings. Big investors came in, and all the little local businesses that used to be on the little Mill Avenue, the little drive, little strip, all went away. That's my big concern now, is the more and more Asheville becomes a destination for a lot of tourism, and the fight between the musicians, the artists, and the investors, that the local scene gets hurt. Ultimately, and what I've seen from past towns, it usually takes 5 years for them to, if it gets too bad, and the investing parties push a lot of artists out. It takes about 5 years for them to try to start welcoming them back, because they lose the magic that the street performers bring. That's my biggest thing, is I don't want to see another town have to go through that again.
Yeah.
Seems to be a trend.
Oh, goodness.
You think Asheville will really get that far?
I hope not. It sounds like there's a coalition of the buskers that are standing up for the rights of a lot of the artists and musicians.
Yeah.
And it's my prayer that they don't take it as far as other places, because they shouldn't be fighting. They should be looking for more opportunities to come together, because we're all a part of the community here.
Right.
And there's only so many jobs anyway, and the artists and the musicians, isn't that what we've been training for?
Exactly. Exactly. You
What's the
know.
world without art and music? It's a scary place.
Yeah, I've been asked over and over again over the last couple weeks whether or not the advertising and folks in different agencies in Asheville advertising about busking in itself is helping the buskers. My answer is always no, not at all. Because we're doing just fine how it is. It's not a very large space. There's
Yeah.
I don't really know what else to say about that except just that. I mean, I think Alan really hit the nail on the head with everything he just said. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that you'd like to, advice for other buskers or any such?
Respect and love. We're all here just trying to give. Respect one another, love one another. Give each other a little space. Make sure we're all giving each other appropriate distance from each other, so that each one's sound, each one of us are unique and have our own sound, and so we don't overlap. That's part of the reason why I only go at certain times, because the irony is I didn't even realize how far my sound travels itself. Like the flute, with most instruments, they all, it's because of air, because of our atmosphere, that we even have sound.
Right.
It doesn't work in space.
Right.
So with like a stringed instrument, you vibrate the string and it excites the air around it and it carries it on. Well, with flutes, I'm more direct with the sound. I'm just straight projecting sound right into the air, and so it travels quite a distance, blocks in fact. So I strategically place myself so that I'm not, my sound isn't overlapping with others.
There you go.
I don't think that's. I think that's important.
Yeah, being mindful of everybody around you and that we are attempting to build a solid community amongst our buskers. So, buskers, if you're out and about and you see Alan, stop and say hi.
Hi.
Because he's an awfully friendly person. And that's how we get to know one another, is stopping and giving each other time of day. Do you have any last things that you would like to play or say or anything before we take a break?
It's up to you. I'll play some more. I'm always interested in playing.
Yeah. Do you have a name for that?
No, I don't have a name for anything I play. I technically don't know what I'm doing. It just comes from my heart, you know.
Well, that sounds like you know what you're doing then.
I couldn't tell you what notes are what, you know. It's just the birds don't think like that. They
Right,
don't talk
right.
like that. So that's not how I learned.
Right. So, so how do folks get a hold of you? Just find you downtown, or your flutes are where again? In the Grove Arcade?
At the Grove Arcade Appalachian Strings,
Okay.
which they can go and purchase them there, or if they're lucky and they find me, they hear me, they might just be able I get one from the source, but it's completely by donation. I don't charge for what I do. It's part of my gift, because the wind, the flutes, Asheville have been such a blessing to me that it's part of my gift back to the world.
Perfect.
You ever made bamboo spoons?
I make about everything I can.
Abby needs a pair of those, I think.
I'll make
Oh,
her
there
some
we go.
Some spoons.
There we go. All right, folks. You're listening to Busker Broadcast. So if you find Alan, if you've been around the downtown area at all this summer, then you've probably seen him. He's got a fairly large backpack riddled with lots and lots of musical devices made out of bamboo.
And a really cool dog.
Yes, and who's Wiley, right, who's sleeping on the station floor right now. And so, stop, say hi, say you heard him on the radio or whatnot else, and catch up with him, because now you know he is a really nice guy. now you know. Stop and say hi to him.
Steven, that banjo player? He's like, man, Early Bird is like my favorite man in all of Asheville. He says it all the time. Like, whenever he sees you, like, across the street, he's like, I'm going to go talk to Early Bird real quick. He just runs over, says hi to you.
I saw him playing earlier today, and I just stopped and listened to him for a little bit. He, in my opinion, gets the banjo award. He's the banjo player of Asheville right now. He can rip on it.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Yeah, so...
It's just a matter of opinion, though.
Well, all right, folks. Busker Broadcast. I'm Abby Spoon Lady. We got Billy Scribbles. We got Alan here. We're hanging out and listening to Alan's really awesome flutes, which are also at the Grove Arcade. And so now we're going to take you back to some awesome busking tunes and take a break while we bring in Cora and Phoenix. And I refill my coffee. Pretty much.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need some of that.
Yeah, well, I brewed some, so you're good to go. All right, well, I'm going to start doing this. All right, thanks, folks. Hold on, wait for us. We'll be back in just a moment.